Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into a topic that's, well, it's often overshadowed by all the excitement of launching a new startup.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not
Yeah.
about the next killer app or
Yeah.
or a viral marketing campaign or anything like that.
Right.
It's about cash flow.
Yes.
Specifically, we're dissecting this article called "Startup Cash Flow: The Silent Killer."
Yeah.
And trust me, the title is no exaggeration.
It's so true. What I find fascinating is that while everyone's always talking about innovation and growth, cash flow is, well, it's the bedrock, especially in those early days.
Yeah.
It's the difference between, being able to take advantage of a sudden opportunity and having to shut down when something unexpected happens.
That's a great point. It's almost like cash flow it's the unsung hero or villain, I guess, depending on how you manage it.
Yeah.
So for those who might need a refresher, what exactly is cash flow and why is it particularly crucial for startups?
So cash flow is essentially the movement of money, right, in and out of your business.
Yeah.
So you have revenue coming in, investments perhaps, but then you've got expenses going out, debt, salaries, all that. It's like this constant balancing act.
Yeah.
And for startups, that act can be, well, it can be particularly precarious.
Makes sense. I mean, they don't have the same, established revenue streams or access to credit that larger, more mature companies might have.
Right.
It's almost like they're, I don't know, walking a tightrope without a safety net or something.
Exactly. And the article highlights how many startups actually operate at a loss, initially,
Oh, really?
while they're investing so heavily in growth, developing their product, marketing, all that.
Hiring.
Yeah, hiring. All of this can mean that more money's flowing out than in.
So beyond just keeping the lights on, what are some of the less obvious benefits of having good cash flow management? The article mentioned a few that really stood out to me.
Yeah, so one of the key advantages is flexibility. The startup landscape is always shifting, and being able to adapt quickly is so crucial.
For sure.
Good cash flow gives you the ability to pivot if your initial plan isn't working, or to jump on an unexpected opportunity. Like, uh, take how Airbnb responded to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, they were hit incredibly hard when travel basically stopped overnight.
Yeah.
But because they had such a strong grasp of their cash flow, they were able to make those tough decisions, those quick decisions,
Mm.
cost-cutting measures, renegotiating contracts, focusing on domestic travel. All of it allowed them to survive when so many others didn't.
They were one of the, I mean, they really weathered that storm well, it seemed like.
They did. They had that financial runway, that cushion to weather the storm.
Yeah.
It bought them time to adapt and to innovate, and ultimately, I think it contributed to their success.
But isn't that flexibility also really important for attracting investors? I can't imagine they're throwing money at companies that just, can't manage their finances.
You're absolutely right. Investor confidence is another huge benefit that's highlighted in the article.
Okay.
Seeing that a startup has a solid understanding of its cash flow, well, that's a huge green flag.
Yeah.
It shows responsible leadership. It shows a higher likelihood of long-term success.
That makes sense. Like if you were going to invest in a company, wouldn't you want to see that they had, a plan for managing their money, not just spending wildly with no clear strategy?
Absolutely. Now, while we've talked about the advantages, the article also delves into some cautionary tales.
Oh, okay.
Stories of startups that failed, at least in part because of cash flow issues.
Yeah, yeah.
And these are important because they show us just how high the stakes can be.
These aren't just abstract concepts, right?
Yeah.
They represent real people, real dreams that were impacted.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those cautionary tales. I'm curious to hear what the article highlights.
All right. Well, one of the most striking examples is Theranos. I mean, they were valued at billions, had raised hundreds of millions in funding,
Wow.
but ultimately collapsed.
Yeah.
While fraud certainly played a role, the article points out that their rapid cash burn from overexpansion and excessive hiring, that was a major factor too.
So it wasn't just that they were being dishonest. It was that they were spending money they didn't really have.
Right. Building this facade of success without a sustainable foundation.
Like a house of cards.
Exactly. It's a classic case of growth without sustainable revenue streams.
Yeah.
Like building a house on sand, it might look impressive for a while, but it can't withstand any real pressure.
It's interesting because the article also mentions Webvan in this context.
Oh, yeah, Webvan.
They raised nearly $400 million but went bankrupt in just a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that wasn't about fraud, was it?
No.
Yeah.
Webvan's downfall seems to have been more about overexpansion before they had really proven their business model. They were scaling up way too quickly. spreading themselves thin across multiple markets without, without ensuring profitability in each one.
So a different problem, but with a similar root cause,
Yeah,
not paying close enough attention to cash flow.
exactly.
And these are just two examples. I'm sure
Right.
there are countless others.
Oh, I'm sure.
It really highlights the importance of balancing ambition with financial prudence.
Absolutely. But the article doesn't just leave us with these cautionary tales. It also offers some really practical advice,
Good.
and highlights startups that have successfully navigated these challenges.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Airbnb's resilience during the pandemic,
Right.
but their story goes beyond just survival.
Okay, so they made tough choices, they cut costs, they adapted.
Yeah.
But what can other startups learn from their experience? What made them different?
The article emphasizes their commitment to detailed cash flow forecasting. They were constantly projecting their income and expenses and then updating those projections based on their actual performance. It wasn't like a static document.
Okay.
It was a living tool that helped them make informed decisions.
So it's about being proactive, constantly reevaluating based on, real-time data,
Yeah,
not just sticking to some initial plan that may no longer be relevant.
exactly. And another key point the article highlights is prioritizing profitable customers.
Okay.
It's not just about getting any sale.
Right.
It's about focusing on the ones who are likely to generate repeat business or spend more over time.
That makes a lot of sense. You could have 1 million customers,
Right.
but if they're not actually contributing to your bottom line, it's
Exactly.
not sustainable growth.
It's about quality over quantity. Building a customer base that aligns with your long-term goals.
And I imagine this also ties into controlling your burn rate, which the article also mentioned.
It does, yeah. Burn rate is essentially how much money you're spending each month.
Yeah.
The goal is to extend your runway.
Your runway.
Yeah, which is how long your startup can survive on its current funds.
And there's some practical ways to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like cutting unnecessary expenses.
Yeah, like cutting unnecessary expenses, delaying large purchases, things like that.
Right.
Just being, mindful of your spending and finding ways to stretch those resources. The article also talks about negotiating payment terms
Okay.
with both suppliers and clients.
So trying to get longer payment terms from suppliers
Yeah,
and then maybe offering incentives for clients to pay early.
exactly. It's a way to kind of optimize your cash flow, right? By improving both inflow and outflow.
I like that.
And speaking of optimization, the article also stressed the importance of building a cash reserve,
Okay.
like an emergency fund for your business.
Yeah.
Aim for, 3 to 6 months of operating expenses saved up. It provides a safety net, It allows you to make strategic decisions without feeling like you're constantly on the edge of financial collapse.
It's like having that insurance policy just in case things don't go exactly as planned
Yeah,
or, if another pandemic hits.
exactly. And finally, the article reminds us that there are some, fantastic tech tools available these days
Okay.
to help us manage finances more effectively. Accounting software like QuickBooks or Xero can track your income and expenses in real time and give you a really clear picture of your financial health.
I was also interested in the book recommendations they wove into the conversation.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
They mentioned The Lean Startup when discussing validated learning and efficient resource allocation,
Right.
and Profit First, which ties in nicely with the idea of prioritizing profitable customers.
It does, yeah.
They also mentioned Small Giants, which is all about choosing sustainable growth over rapid expansion.
Mm-hmm.
This seems particularly relevant given the cautionary tales we discussed earlier.
For sure.
And for a deeper dive into understanding financial statements, they recommended Financial Intelligence for Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Scaling Up was also mentioned as a resource for startups looking to scale effectively while managing cash flow.
Yeah.
It seems like a really well-rounded list covering various aspects of financial management for startups.
It really speaks to the article's, holistic approach to cash flow.
Yeah.
It's not just about numbers. It's
Yeah.
about strategy, mindset, and building a sustainable foundation for long-term success.
So would you say the key takeaway is that cash flow is more than just, a line item on a balance sheet?
Definitely.
It's really about the lifeblood of a startup.
Exactly. It's about survival. It's about flexibility and building a business that can, that can withstand the inevitable ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey.
And it's about making smart strategic decisions that prioritize financial health.
Yes.
not just in the short term, but for the long haul.
It's about recognizing that mastering this often overlooked aspect of entrepreneurship, it can be the key to achieving those big dreams.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
Yeah.
from the basic definition of cash flow
Right.
to cautionary tales and practical advice for startups.
We have.
As we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like the underlying message is that cash flow isn't just some, abstract financial concept.
Right.
It's really about empowerment.
It is, yeah. It's about having the tools and the knowledge to make those informed decisions,
Yeah.
to navigate challenges strategically, and to build a business that can thrive even when times are uncertain.
I think that's a great point. It's not just about the numbers themselves, it's about what those numbers represent,
Yeah.
Control, flexibility, and the ability to make your vision a reality.
It's about understanding that financial health isn't a destination, it's an ongoing process.
And with that in mind, I'd love to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. Think about your own work, or even your personal life. What's one small step you could take today to improve your own financial management?
It could be as simple as creating a budget
Yeah,
or setting up a system to track your spending.
right.
Maybe it's finally tackling that cash flow forecast for your business idea or your side hustle.
Or maybe it's just picking up one of those books the article recommended
Yeah.
and deepening your understanding of these concepts.
Exactly. The point is that even small actions, they can have a huge ripple effect,
Yeah,
leading to greater financial stability and ultimately more freedom to pursue your goals.
absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It is.
And when it comes to finances, that power can translate into a sense of security, opportunity, even peace of mind.
So true.
So go forth, listeners, and conquer the world of cash flow. Yeah. And remember, mastering cash flow might not be the most glamorous part of entrepreneurship or life, really, but it's a foundational element that can make all the difference. It's about taking control of your financial destiny and setting yourself up for success, whatever that looks like for you.
Until next time, happy diving.